was crazy because we're about to celebrate next month 8 years of Drink Champs, right? And I have a 5 and a 3-year-old. So that means when we started Drink Champs, I didn't have kids.
You didn't have no children at all.
So post Drink Champs, I started having kids and they're young ones. So that's the most difficult part in terms of balancing work and family, because I actually waited on purpose to have kids.
Okay.
I wanted to be in the right state of mind and devote myself to raising my children. So that's probably been the most challenging part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you just got to deal with it, man. You got to know how to, I grew up as an entrepreneur, independent, so I've dealt with a lot of obstacles and how to overcome them.
I want to take it from the beginning. Like, we all know you're like when it comes down to like Miami hip hop, we know you're like a staple, like in the hip hop community. Where did it come from? How did it start? Who put the records in your hand? Who put the DJ equipment in your hand?
Man, it goes back to the love of music in general. But I grew up in the 80s, so you just grow up hip hop without knowing your hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember a time where actually saying hip hop you didn't say that. You didn't go around saying I'm hip hop or I do hip hop, or like you didn't use those words. You just were. You just
That's
did.
a fact.
You know what I'm saying? I think it wasn't until Naughty by Nature did Hip Hop Parade that people really were saying it more like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I grew up 80s. I listened to all kinds of music, from Latin music to 80s pop and rock and metal, and I liked punk, everything, man. And I got so into music and into like film and music. Like I liked time period pieces where they would have the music from that era in the film, and I would always be like, man, that's ill that this music connects with this time period. And I was always like admired the generation that had their own music,
mm-hmm.
and always wondering what was our music, as a kid, like what's my generation's music. And as hip hop was infiltrating little by little, I realized like, oh, this is our music from our generation. And as I got a little older, like now, junior high going into high school, I just become like hip hop head. And and then realizing I already break dance.
You break dance?
I mean, when I was a kid.
So you a real hip hop, like B-boy?
I did it all. But every kid in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, most kids. I'm not gonna say every kid.
Yeah, when you into hip hop.
Yeah, but whether you was moonwalking because of Michael Jackson or backspinning, whatever, but we was doing some form of break dancing or popping and locking. Like I was dancing, I was doing graffiti. Whether it was doing graffiti for the art or hanging out with my homeboys on the block that were repping gang sets and doing graffiti.
Talk that.
You know what I'm saying? So we was doing graffiti, we was dancing, we was trying to rap. We was mimicking the music. We had the boombox. We was walking around with the boombox. And then like I said, as I get older and I get into high school, I'm like, man, this is the music of our generation. And it's kind of like at its early stages, most definitely in Miami, it's in its early stage. It hasn't really blown up. And then I started to say, at first I was like, I just want to be a supportive fan to the local hip hop culture and just like live history. That was my goal at first. I didn't have money for turntables. Yeah, of course I wanted to be a DJ off rip. To me, the DJ was the pinnacle.
That's a fact.
But I didn't have money I had 2 tape decks, hand-me-down, stereo tape decks, and I would make pause tapes. That's what I would do. And then as I started to get closer to graduation, I'm like, what do I want to do? And I told my crew, I was like, yo, I think we might be able to do something that impacts the local scene. And like we might have a chance to do something that influences at least the local hip-hop scene. So, let's take a crack at it as a career at that point.
We here in Miami right now, and I always talk about you, right? And I be like, yo, EFN is like the major hip hop like history museum. Like I'm talking about from like tapes to like records. So growing up, who's some of the people that inspired you to get into that lane?
To get into the lane of what, like having
music, DJing? Who's some of the DJs?
I mean,
or even like MCs.
Right. I mean, look, locally,
okay.
Well, Yo MTV Raps was hugely influential in terms of getting, to know what's going on in hip hop. Then the Source magazine, when we would get it scarcely out here in high school. And then mixtapes were instrumental as they started to trickle down from New York mainly out here. that's where we would get informed on who's buzzing in the underground, what's going on before it actually comes out. And then locally, you know, we didn't have hip hop on commercial radio, but we had like the skating rink DJs, we had the park jam DJs, and then we had our little clubs as you know, as I'm getting a little older and going to clubs in my teen years. And those park jams and those clubs were like the hub for all the local hip hop kids. And I say that in a way that it's so hard to grasp an era, and maybe even from someone that's not from like a smaller market at that time, you know, like Miami in terms of hip hop was a smaller market, to grasp that there was literally just a few thousand hip hop heads.
Talk about here in Miami?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like we would all kind of know each other by face in a way. We would all go to the same parties, the same, whether it be a house party or a park jam or a warehouse party. And it was literally a few thousand hip hop heads in Miami at the time. And in that group, you had DJs, MCs, break dancers, and then you had a divide in Miami between North and South Miami, kind of competing vying for what's best. And then we had this whole identity thing going on where we was like, half of the hip hop heads were like all repping New York. They were either New York transplants or they just emulated New York because it was like the place popping in terms of hip hop culture. And then you had the other half trying to put on for the city and trying to like rep Miami. And when I say hip hop heads, like Two Live Crew had happened and popped out of Miami.
Two Live Crew.
Poison Clan had popped already.
Clan.
But there became a divide in like the 90s, the early 90s, where there was a parallel universe between what became Miami-based music scene and like the diehard hip hop scene that had the culture in terms of, you know, like the graph, the B-boys, the DJs, MCs. There was a parallel because the Miami-based scene looked at this scene over here, the hip hop scene, as a New York invasion.
Okay.
But a lot of us who weren't from New York, we're like, nah, we just hip hop heads that want to rep Miami on the national scale. And it took a while for those two parallel universes to merge again.
Do you feel like nowadays Miami gets its respect on the hip hop scene?
I think it gets a certain respect, but I think there's a lot more that it could get. I feel like there's an era, like there's a scene of Miami that took off, but you're not seeing all aspects of our scene. Like, I don't think people realize we have world-renowned B-boys and B-girls that have gone international and won competitions.
Wow.
People don't know that. We have world-renowned graffiti artists that are world-renowned. One of the biggest graffiti magazines, 12 Ounce Profits, was actually in a warehouse around here. That was one of the biggest graffiti magazines in the world. We have one of the biggest turntable DJs, the best DJs, actually not far from here, my homie Craze. He won DMC World Championship like 5 times. He won other championships, and then he went on to tour with a DJ for Kanye and Yellow Wolf and people like that. We have it all, you know what I'm saying? And we have underground MCs like spitting crazy. Dope, spitting crazy. And I just don't think that, you know, what happened is like the surface level got exposed, which is still dope. You know, like the Pitbulls went on, the Rick Rosses, the Flow Riders, and then we had a lot of people come into town and kind of like claim Miami. And it's cool, and that's a part of Miami, but I don't think all of Miami has been seen for what it is, you know, all aspects of it, the hip hop scene.
I could dig that, I could respect that. Do you mix DJing, mixtapes and all that? You miss all that?
I miss it, yeah, man.
I mean, I know you don't have the time now to even be doing like.
Nah, it's just.
You know what I'm saying?
What happened to me is that I really was active as a DJ all that 90s era leading into the early 2000s. But I was like an analog dude. Like I like vinyl.
I see. You got like.
Yeah, I got.
You got like 4,000 records?
No, more than that.
What?
I had accumulated about 30,000 records. At one point, I sold about maybe 10,000 of them, so I'm left with like 20,000. I have some here and some at the crib. And I was just into that culture of just taking the vinyl everywhere. I would take almost all my records to the club.
Wow.
You know, my early mixtapes were on cassettes. They were vinyl mixes. And later on, I started getting leaks and stuff like that, DAT leaks, and then I would use digital 4-tracks and stuff like that. But I missed that analog, you know, feel, and I just didn't get into the digital side of DJ. No diss to, because there's some dope DJs. If you were a dope DJ on wax, you could be equally or more dope on digital. It just didn't speak to me the same way. There was something about being in the club and then going through your vinyl quick and pulling out that one record. And
I
you
miss
do the
that though.
face.
I remember I used to see DJs going through the records.
Oh man, yeah.
Like going through the records and they picking it out. They, you know what I'm saying? They looking at it nowadays. Like they got that little thing now.
They're looking through the computer.
Yeah, they're
like
looking through the
this.
computer.
I can't do that. That doesn't do anything for me. Like
That's not your style.
Nah, I couldn't.
Yeah, I see.
Shout out to the DJs that do it and still kill, but it just wasn't for me, you know.
Nah, I could dig that. I could dig that. Who you listening to right now? It's funny. Before you answer this question, I know y'all interview people. I'm gonna interview you. Like, who you listen to right now? When you in the whip, when you riding, like, who's some of the hip hop heads you listening to right now?
Well, right now I was checking out in these past couple of days the new Kanye.
That joint dope. Shout out
Yeah.
to my boy Max. He
Yeah,
picked
I was
me up
checking
with
that
that
out.
joint. That joint is dope.
I've always appreciated Kanye's music. I even they didn't like what was it what's the one, the gospel one he did?
Oh yeah.
Jesus King. People think that that's I think that album is dope.
Now that was dope.
Like I think that album is incredible. But so I fucks with Kanye with his music, and I mean I listen to a lot of Kendrick and J. Cole and
Okay.
and then I'll mix it up, bro. I listen to a lot of like 90s reggae.
90s reggae?
Yeah, my first DJ gig in a club was me spinning a dance hall set
Wow.
because I was like, all right, let me surprise these motherfuckers. This Cuban kid's gonna whip out the 45 straight from Kingston, Jamaica, and do a crazy set, and that's how I got
That's dope. That's
my
dope.
first gig. So I mean, and if you grew up in the 90s in hip hop, you acquired a taste for dance hall because
Yeah, it's reggae.
it always was together.
That's
like,
all they play. When we was in New York, that's all they play. Like they play the hip hop, and no lie, 70% be all reggae. Somebody start shooting, and then we up out of there.
Yeah, I mean the dance hall. If you
was the
think about
era.
it, that was the music that you took the time to dance with the females.
Yeah.
As a break to the hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And out here we were lucky. We had two breaks. We had Miami bass and dance hall to dance with the females, and then when we get to the hip hop. But yeah, I mean I listen to a lot of dance hall, a lot of like old Motown stuff.
Oh wow.
You know, sometimes I'm just in a Sinatra mood and I'll put on
Frank
the
Sinatra?
Yeah, the Sinatra channel.
Wow. You the second. I was here last night, interviewed a youngin named Ziggy. He was saying the same thing about Frank Sinatra.
Bro, that music, if you
Wow.
you're chilling, you're driving,
I
you
might
put
have to
that.
tap into that.
I put the Sirius XM channel for him, and it puts like artists and stuff, and it's dope. With that vibe, it just puts you in a vibe.
I want to talk about. I'm gonna keep it hip hop, man, because I look at you as like the hip hop museum.
Thanks.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'll show you upstairs. I got a bunch of stuff
Like,
up there.
what do you think hip hop is missing right now?
Man, that's a loaded question. I think it's missing originality and authenticity. Not to say that nobody is original and nobody's authentic, but as in its like grandness and its commercialism, as big as it is, I think that's a big chunk of what's missing. You know, there was, you never thought you was gonna be the guy that say, "Well, in my days," and then we all become that. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I loved about hip hop, man, was the creativity that you couldn't bite. You had to be your own thing, even if it sounded out of the box. It was better than sounding like someone else, you know? And I miss that. I miss that about hip hop. I feel like there's people doing it still, but what happens is it's so oversaturated to really those artists to grab your attention is more difficult now. You know what I'm saying? It's easy and more difficult at the same.
Okay.
Easy to go digitally and reach people, but it's harder to cut through that noise. But that's what I think is missing.
I wanted to ask you that question because, like, I'm 45, so I mean, I'm from the 90s era hip hop.
Yeah,
So
I'm 48.
yeah,
right?
so I listened to Midnight Marauders,
Yeah.
De La Soul's from where I'm from, so I grew up with them. So I'm from like that era, and it's like I try listening like a lot of music nowadays. My daughter, her favorite MC is NBA YoungBoy,
Okay.
and I be like, and I'm arguing with my daughter. She's 12 years old.
Right,
She's
right.
like, he's better than Jay-Z, and he's better than Method Man. I'm like, all right, I'll let you get that. You know what I'm saying? But like, I love hip hop. It's so different nowadays, and
Yeah,
it is like you try to find that sentiment. Like, when is it ever gonna go back? So I'm gonna ask you this question: what city you think is on top in hip hop right now?
I don't know, man. I mean, I would say first city that comes to mind that I feel has been consistent is Atlanta.
Okay, we talking about that. Yeah. Okay.
You know, but I don't think there's really one city that's holding it down because the music all sounds like it's from the same city. Like the music that's commercially out there. And when I say commercial, I'm meaning that
It's on the radio.
It's popular. Yeah, it's on rotation.
But you know what's crazy?
It's
Not to even cut you off, E. Back in the day, when somebody's from the West Coast, you knew they's from the West Coast.
That's the problem.
When somebody's from St. Louis,
Yeah.
you knew they's from St. Louis.
Right.
When somebody's from Boston, you knew they's from Boston.
Right.
I know exactly what you're trying to say. You're trying to say now everything kind of sounds, it's like you don't know where you from.
Yeah, it sounds the same. So that's the issue. But I would say by default, I think Atlanta's on top. They've been very consistent. I think New York is working towards getting back, you know, and is doing a lot.
Shout out to New York. Don't be mad at me, but it's hard.
But honestly, I think as a country, we need to. I mean, this is too much for us to even tackle. But as a culture, nationally, we need to like really concentrate and nurture the culture better, because I've had the opportunity to travel to other countries in a documentary series that I do, where I go and I connect with the hip hop heads in different countries, and we're losing our influence.
Word?
Yeah. Big time. And I started the film series.
And you've seen that. But see, you're going other places, so you're seeing that.
Yeah. I'm going to emerging markets. Like I went to Vietnam, I went to Haiti, I went to Peru, went to Cuba, went to Colombia, South Africa. And yeah, we're losing our influence. They don't really respect what's coming out of the States as much anymore.
Wow.
They across the board.
Wow, that's tough.
Without me asking, I never led this answer out of people, but across the board, in some form, every country, someone has said, you guys don't do hip hop anymore. You guys do business.
Ooh.
So that's why I say the authenticity is where we need, what's missing, because they're noticing it's not authentic
It's a
anymore.
difference. Yeah, it's a difference.
Y'all ain't authentic. Y'all just doing it for the paycheck.
Nah, it's definitely a difference.
Right.
It's definitely a difference. Crazy Hood Productions. I think it was 20-year anniversary.
30 years.
30 years?
The year I graduated high school, yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like, what gave you the vision? Did you think it would get this far?
Nah, I didn't.
Talk about it, man.
I mean, it was
30 years ago.
30 years. It was what I told you. Like, I was graduating high school. I didn't know what I wanted to get into. And the only thing I cared about, the only thing I had a passion for was hip hop. And I just felt that it was early enough in the stages for Miami, at least, that I could get in there. I might have a chance. I mean, we had no money, had no network, no connects to the industry. So a couple, when I told the crew, because we already had a crew, homies that would hang around, and some of them were like, "Man, you wild, man. Like, what you gonna do? You don't rap, you don't DJ." I didn't have turntables yet. They're like, "You don't do, like, what we gonna do? I just came up with a name and a mission.
Crazy Hood Productions.
A mission. And the first thing we did was throw a party, a warehouse party, actually 2 blocks away from here, at a car body shop. It was my homeboy's pop's car body shop. On a Friday when they closed up, we didn't tell the pops. We went in, we cleaned up the shop. We had flyers circulating, and we threw a party. And unfortunately, it got shot up. But, one dude got injured. No one died. But then the next Monday, when everybody went back to school, the infamous Crazy Hood party.
Talking about it. He was talking about it.
Made us infamous.
Yeah.
And the legend was born. And then from there, I got my turntables, started spinning, started doing mixtapes, started doing parties, put together a group with my homies, got in the studio. We all started going to community college, and we all got studio classes.
Okay.
So that we could get free studio time. So we could do our album.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, we didn't have the bread for studio. So I said, we all register for studio classes.
Yeah.
We're all going to get this many hours of studio time. We're going to record our album that way. And that's the beginnings of Crazy Hood, man. And slowly but surely, we started to find ways to make money doing what we love. And, some of the homies that weren't as involved in the music side, some were hustling, some were doing other things. But collectively, we had this goal of putting on for the city and putting on for our crew. And I started to find ways to make money. I started a marketing company. We opened up a hip hop clothing store. We started managing artists, consulting, and the branches kept growing from that tree.
I'm going to talk about this right here. We're going to skip around.
Yeah.
October 20th. Keys to the city of Miami. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Great. Well, so we got the keys to this area, which is Kendall, West Kendall.
Okay.
To be exact. This is the area where I'm from in Miami. We got those keys. And then a week or two later, we got the keys to the county.
Okay.
And we also got a proclamation making it Crazy Hood Day.
Talk that talk.
Nah, I was going back to that kid in high school when we was a bunch of derelicts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And my teachers is like, I'll see you in prison.
Look at me now. Look at me now, teachers.
Yeah, you would have never thought,
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of Black and Hispanic kids with a pipe dream of trying to put on, for the city and do some music. And we're called Crazy Hood. You could have never told me in 93 that the city officials are going to be like, and this is Crazy Hood Day, and here's the keys to Crazy Hood.
Wow.
Like it's full circle.
Wow, that's amazing, man. We got to talk about Drink Champs. Where y'all get the name from? You told me last time I interviewed you a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You got to tell that story. Like, where y'all coming with the name Drink Champs from?
So we used to have a studio. Everything's like in this area. We had a studio a couple blocks that way, a warehouse. That was before I had this spot. And Nori had moved down to Miami. I'm gonna give you a long version of this so it really explains it. Nori moved down to Miami. He ended up moving down the street from here to be close to my studio.
Okay.
And he would be in my studio every day because this is right after he did the reggaeton project. And I was never a fan. I'm Latino, but I was never a fan of reggaeton.
You never mess with reggaeton?
I just felt like it was diluting what Latinos were trying to already do in hip hop. Like I'm just straight
I would never
Big
have
Pun, Cypress Hill. Like we don't ruin that legacy of Latinos in hip hop. That was my mindset then.
Okay.
I just felt it was like Latinos trying to mimic reggae with a fake patois in my mind. That's what it was in the beginning. It's evolved, and I have a respect for it now a lot more. But when he did it, I wasn't into it. And he knew I wasn't into it, but I was happy for his success in it, and he helped usher in that movement into the States. So when he felt that when he did that project that the industry turned their back on him.
The hip hop industry?
Yeah.
Nori's a legend though.
Yeah, he felt like they turned their back on it. So when he came, he moved to Miami, he wanted to change his scene. And he told me, he's like, yo, E, bring me back to hip hop. He knew I was like a diehard. So he was like, just bring me back to hip hop. Let's do some hip hop shit. So he moved close to me and he would come to my studio every day and we'd be there. He'd be recording. The first thing we did was I had him do a freestyle over the My Name is D Nice beat. We looped that, we sampled it and we looped that. That was the first thing we did. You talk about bring me back to hip hop and Flex played it.
That's the right beat though.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite joints. Yeah. So we would be there, recording, and in those studio sessions, me and my crew were big drinkers. So we would always have bottles there. We're drinking, or smoking and drinking, and then we started gambling in that motherfucker. The office became crazy, right? And in that era, like if you couldn't handle your liquor, my crew, we would say you're not a drink champ.
Okay.
That was the thing. Like there's hashtags going back to pictures on IG of someone passed out. You're not a drink champ, And so that was something we would say. It was a thing that we would say. And then Nori did a song with The Alchemist called Drink Champ based off of what he was hearing us saying. And he talks about drinking at the office and all that in that song. So that's one part of it in terms of like the name kind of starting to bubble. We started recording a radio show for XM before the merger out of that same studio. Shout out to Leo G from 66 Raw who gave us the opportunity. And we would do this weekly show, me and Nori, called Militainment Crazy Raw Radio. Nori named it that. It's a crazy name. He says it on Drink Champs all the time when we do the intro. So we would do that show, and it looks and sounds just like Drink Champs. We would intro the same way. It was drinking, was same antics. We just had less guests because not too many people were coming this way, this down south. I think Fat Joe might have came through. A couple of people might have came through. So we did that. And that's kind of like getting us our sea legs in terms of doing something like a podcast. So we did that for a couple years, and then we stopped. Nori went on tour with Pone. They did I think it was called Channel 10, CNN album. I believe that was the album, and they went on tour in Europe.
Shout out to Capone.
Yeah, shout out Pone. That's the homie. And then I was managing a group called Mayday out here from Miami. They got signed to Tech 9, Strange Music.
Okay.
And we went on tour, national tour. So we both got busy. But then I had a homie of mine who was making strides in the podcast world. And he's like, yo, you should podcast. And I'm like, maybe you're right. And he's like, yeah, you could do whatever you want. Like that thing you guys used to do, you and Nori, it could be a podcast. And I didn't like the way we had to do the Sirius XM show because it was strict. Like it was only an hour. We had to turn it every week. This guy was like, yeah, you could do it an hour, 5 hours, 20 minutes, whatever. A podcast could be whatever you want it to be. Turn it in whenever you want to turn it in. So I told Nori, and at first Nori was like, I don't know, what's a podcast? It was relatively unknown in the hip hop world for sure.
Nah, that's crazy though, cause Now I'm just saying. Now it's like y'all like one of the top podcasts.
Wild.
You know what I'm saying?
So he's like, "Yo, what is that?" And it took me a while to get him, and he was like, "That seems like some nerd shit, like the computer nerd.
Yeah.
That's all they do." And I could see why some would say that. So it took a couple years, and we talked to different people. Rest in peace to Combat Jack, who tried to actually do a deal with us early on, and it didn't work out because Nori wasn't really ready to do it. And then finally, when Nori, I think he did an interview with Tax Stone.
Okay.
And I think he was like, he saw himself in Tax, like this is a street dude doing podcasting. And I remember Nori was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this, E. And I had already incorporated, I had grabbed all the handles for Drink Champs.
Okay.
I had bought the .coms. I bought Drink Champ and Drink Champs.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was going to be. I just liked those names. Like, I liked the term. So I couldn't believe that it was available to buy. So I bought it. I did the IG. I did the Twitter. I grabbed all.
So you didn't know it was even going to be like this?
I didn't know it was going to be a podcast. I just liked it. I was like, it could be a bar. It could be a clothing line. It could be whatever,
Okay.
So I tell him, I was like, and then I had my homie Scam.
Okay.
Can't skip over this. He's a legend. He's also from Miami. He's from Carroll City. Legend graphic artist and MC. He has a songs with Eminem. He did all the Eminem artwork. He did the Beats Rhyme and Life.
Did he do that?
He did the logo. That's what I'm saying. I commissioned him and he did the logo. So I had the logo ready. And this is now I'm saying to myself, we could call the podcast this. So that's when I commissioned him to do the logo. And then when Nori's finally ready to go, my boy, he comes to me. He's like, yo, I got a connection for CBS to distribute podcasts. Are you interested in me connect y'all? And I was like, yeah. CBS said, let me get a demo. They wanted to hear a demo of Drink Champs, like some pilot episodes. So we did Kenny Anderson first.
Oh, shout out to Kenny Anderson. Yeah, he just came on the show.
Yeah, my old office. And
I seen that episode. It looked like, was that here? Or?
No, that was in another office I had. I've had mad offices. I had an office in downtown Miami in an apartment.
Okay.
And then we did Fat Joe the next day. Fat Joe was the first one that came out, but we did Fat Joe the second day.
Okay.
Turned those in. CBS loved it. And I had told, I'm kind of skipping around, but in that craziness, I told Nori, let's just call it Drink Champs. And Nori, when he's ready to go, all right, whatever, let's call it Drink Champs. And history was born, and we came out with Fat Joe, and it was a hit. First episode was a hit.
Man, this it's so interesting you telling this story because y'all not have everybody on the show.
It's crazy.
And it's like, are you ever sometimes just sitting back and be like, damn, this is crazy?
Absolutely, man.
Like, do you be on the show like, damn, this is really crazy?
Like for me, just recently with Grandmaster Flash, because for me, I can't speak for Nori, but for me, it's important to document the history of the culture.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
And I love being able to bring certain cats out that haven't been out in the public much or don't usually talk, and let them see them in a light where they're having fun. We're like, oh man, like I like when a younger audience, man, y'all was having fun with someone like a Grandmaster Flash. Like it's entertaining, but they're also learning something. And I always wanted Flash and people in of his
He's a
caliber.
pioneer.
And to have him recently, we had him recently. I was in awe, man. Like just having Flash there and him talking to me like I'm his equal. Like to me I'm a fan of it, man. The minute I'm not a fan of it, I can't do it no more.
But that's how I feel about you though. That's how I feel about y'all. Like sitting here talking to y'all, like I was watching Drink Champs when I was in the spot, and it's like I used to just sit there and just watch it from I watch y'all from like the beginning. Like, damn, and I seen like the growth.
Progression, right?
It's like even with my show.
Yeah.
People, you can see like the growth, like, dad, they really just switched it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's progressing, it's evolving. So it's like, I got to give y'all respect and flowers too, you know what I'm saying? Because we big fans and we pay attention. So that I don't think y'all really understand that. Like, we be watching. Like, I know what? I'm going to talk for me. This Say World Park, I be watching. So I take a lot of stuff that y'all do and I be like, dang, EFN and Nori doing it like this. Let me do it like that.
Right.
Like, I really be in the crib, like, and I watch. Like, my girl, anybody would tell you, my other girl, my mistress, they all would tell you, like, I'm in the crib. No, for real. I'm in the crib, like, watching every episode. I'm like, yo, I got to change this. I got to change that. So I got to give you your flowers and let you guys know that you guys are the ones. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it. And one thing that people don't realize is that you might see a finished product, and as crazy as it seems, but honestly, everything that Nori had experienced up to that time period and everything I had experienced was put into Drink Champs behind the scenes. Like, we applied all of the experience we've had, all the network we've had, and we dumped it into Drink Champs. And we didn't make a penny for 6 months in the beginning.
Wow.
Because CBS didn't know how to sell us. We blew up so fast, so quickly from the first episode their sales team was like they were like the radio sales team.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't know, like you guys are worth this much by the numbers, but you're new and you're wild, so the advertisers are a little nervous.
Yeah.
So it took 6 months to get a first check, and in those 6 months we knew it was working, so we reinvested our own money to do it, and it was all, and like we just put all of our experience, we dumped it into Drink Champs. So that's why I feel like it really succeeded.
I'm gonna go off topic for a minute because did you watch the Super Bowl on Sunday?
I did.
We gotta talk about this.
Yeah.
What you feel about the Alicia Keys Usher situation?
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, it was a little crazy.
Do you feel like it was disrespectful though? You married, E, right?
No, yeah. I'm married.
You're married.
Yeah.
Your wife.
I couldn't see that. But I don't know. You know, the thing is, Usher been doing that in all his shows. It's been a thing. So
Usher got a bad reputation for doing that.
who knows if maybe behind the scenes they were like, yo, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be viral, and people are gonna be talking, and it's gonna be a debate, or maybe, yeah, I feel like there was a point where she kind of told him, like, yo, relax, like when she like put like her hand in front of him. I don't know, man.
That's like
Yeah, gotta leave it to Switz and Alicia to say how disrespected they felt.
I asked the question. I've been asking people the question because we all got like ladies. And I just wonder like how the ride be home, being in the car. Like, was that planned? Was it was it part of the show? I don't know what I would do.
Right.
You'll never know what you do till you're in that situation.
It's true. I mean, it wasn't that crazy.
It was crazy.
How crazy? What, that he was behind her? Which part? There was a part like
it's just the ride home. Like everybody's seen it. I'm pretty sure like people got phone calls. I don't know.
Right.
It's just
we just, the thing is, we don't know behind the scenes
Yeah.
what they spoke about, what they agreed upon. Who knows, man?
I wanna get this out for the other like podcasters. What advice would you give like up and coming podcasters that's starting out, that's trying to get to where you guys is at, and they don't know what to do or they want to give up? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say don't jump into podcasting or really anything, to be honest with you, in terms of like in the creative side of things, because I still consider this in the creative side. Don't jump into it thinking this is a moneymaker.
Facts.
It's the wrong mentality. Oh yeah, I'm gonna come in the game, I'm gonna kill it, I'm gonna make all this money, and then you invest money, because right now is actually probably one of the worst times to jump into this space because it's so oversaturated.
Mm-hmm.
But come into it with the right intentions to just do something you enjoy, create dope content, and the money will come. But you got to be consistent, and consistency is really the key to this. Be consistent and have a passion for it, and the paper will come later.
That's what it is. I'm gonna put you on the spot before we get you up out of here, E. It's like quick time of slime, but
Right.
I just got the dome in my head and ask you a couple questions. You gotta give me your honest answer. First question is Souls Mischief or Far Side?
Souls of Mischief, because 93 Till Infinity was the year that
beat is crazy.
I love both of them, but 93 Till Infinity is like our unofficial anthem.
That beat, isn't that beat like retarded though?
It's crazy, man.
Like,
I mean,
shout out to A+ of them too. They were just on the show, man.
Souls of Mischief, they off the chain, bro. I mean, Far Side's off the chain too.
Yeah, Far Side's dope too. I ain't gonna.
You know, I got LA roots. I was born in LA.
Yeah, I know. I
do lean into LA. You know,
I'm gonna keep it LA. I'm gonna keep it LA. Richie Rich or Razzcats?
Only because Razzcats is the homie, but Richie Rich is dope too. Again, but Razzcats is the homie, and Raz is a monster on the mic.
All right, I'm gonna keep it West Coast. Let me go Game or Corrupt.
I'm gonna have to say Corrupt because he was first in Dog Pound. I was a huge fan of the Dog Pound.
All right, I'm gonna take it to a high level. Kendrick or Snoop?
Wow. I'm always gonna give it to the first. Snoop.
You always gonna get to the first?
Yeah, because without Snoop, he's paving the way for someone like a Kendrick, you know?
I think Snoop top 5, yo. I think Doggy Style album was like one of
that's one of the
dopest
best hip-hop
albums ever,
yeah.
like created, like just ever in hip hop.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go to the East Coast. Mobb Deep or MOP? Y'all always ask this. I want to hear your opinion.
That's difficult, man. See, you're not even giving me the both option to drink anything.
I mean, what you want to do?
Nah.
Shout out to Billy Dance.
Yeah, I love MOP, man.
And they're underrated.
Absolutely.
They don't really get the.
Absolutely.
I feel like they don't really get the.
But I'm so happy that, because we had MOP recently.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they're in the game still. Like
Yeah.
their head is right and they're taking advantage of stuff that they should be taking advantage of. I'm gonna go only with Mobb Deep because to me they were first.
Infamous was crazy.
Even before that, the Project Hallways, that project, that first album. That's
It's about the Peer Pressure album.
yeah. People don't like that album,
I mean, cause
but
The album was dope, but when the Infamous album came out, it shook the world, man.
No,
the Infamous album made you want to go rob somebody.
100%. What I'm trying to tell you is, again, I'm picking who's first for me. And that album, I had it.
All right.
And I was fucking with it. And then, of course, the Infamous album is out of here. Like, that's why people think that's their first album, because it's such a big album.
No, people really do think that, though. People don't realize they had an album before that.
Yeah.
Like, real hip-hop heads know
Right.
they had an album before that. I'm going to still keep it the East. Foxy Brown or Lil' Kim?
That's rough. But I'm going to go Foxy. I had a crush on Foxy.
Say word.
Foxy was, I'm just saying, she was,
Foxy
she's
dope. Foxy super.
Kim is cute too, but Foxy's dope, man.
I'm gonna still keep it East. I'm gonna take it to Jersey for a little bit. Naughty by Nature or Lords of the Underground. Shout out to Do It All too. That's my guy. That's tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And mind you, he's not giving me a both or neither option here. So I'm picking. I'm actually picking. I'm gonna go. I love both of them, but I'm gonna go Naughty because I was in one of my first industry experiences being in one of their music videos.
Okay.
For the song Craziest.
The
remix.
Oh,
it was the craziest remix. But they had Miami is crazy.
Okay.
And actually,
and
we shot our part not too far from here. Like they shot it out here, and I'm in that video. So and I actually they're maybe one of the first big artists that I had actually met in person, and they were just so on point and so dope to me. I'm gonna say them.
And it's the last one. We gonna go with Prince or Michael Jackson. You know, Prince played like every instrument too.
Yeah, man.
Every instrument.
You see, to me, that's a mood. Like one day I'll be like Michael, and one day I'll be like Prince. I'm gonna go Prince because of his talent to play the instruments.
I told the little youngest that last night. I was like, yo, Prince. They didn't know Prince played all them instruments. I was like, yo, Prince plays every instrument. Yeah. Michael could do all that stuff. He's dope, but like, it's nobody like Prince. I don't know. Nobody can play every instrument.
And the crazy thing about Prince is I never saw a dude that could be so feminine, but at the same time get every chick.
Got all the chicks in the world. I don't know what's going on. Like he had like
that was that era though. That was a weird era. Like you had that glam rock. Like I don't know. They were doing some crazy. They thought you think now is crazy. They were doing some crazy shit back then too.
Yeah, that was a wild time. That was a wild time. This Say World podcast. We in Miami. DJ EFN, Drink Champs, Crazy Hood Productions.
Hey, word.
My guy, appreciate you checking in, man. Much respect, man. Y'all know what time it is. Anything else you want to say to the world?
Nah, bro. Just check us out. Check you out, man. Appreciate y'all coming through. Shout out to your whole team. Let's go, man. Let's keep it going.
And y'all know what it is. Just Say Word. We up out of here.
Peace.
The fastest growing podcast up in the world right now. You know. Say Word. OnlyFans, real estate, talking in fashion. Let them know what's happening.